there is a delay between action and gratification. And that's where I think if people don't understand that, that kills the enthusiasm in what you're doing, because we live in a society that you want immediate fulfillment, immediate returns, immediate satisfaction. And in this business, you're building a reputation, you're building a brand name, you're building some credibility.
Welcome to the Get Traction podcast. If you are ready to learn exactly what it takes to become a real estate entrepreneur, this is the show for you. With your host, founder of Traction Real Estate Mentors and president of the Traction Real Estate Investors Association, Tom Zeeb.
Welcome back to the Get Traction podcast. This is Tom Zeeb, as always, with my producer, Harry Duran. Hey, Harry.
How you doing, Tom?
Doing awesome. Hey, Harry, today we've got a special guest on the line. It's another of my very successful students, Eddy. Eddy, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Tom?
Very good, thanks. Eddy, wanted to ask you a few questions about your experiences in real estate investing and how you got started, the success you've had, and I think that'll be helpful to our listeners. Sound good?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love to tell my story.
All right, fantastic. So let's think back to before you did my training. Where were you at? Like, what was life like? What real estate experience did you have? And tell us a little bit about that time in your life.
Sure. So maybe a storyline is that for quite some time, I wanted to get involved into real estate. And one of the motivators was that my father was an architect who built hundreds, if not thousands of homes for some other people. Yet we never really had houses other than his own. And it kind of always dwelled on me. Why can't we own properties as well as others? I believe that that was kind of one of the money stories that help people drive. Why is it that I cannot do something that others can do successfully? That was one of my drivers. And I was, as I was growing up with my family, successfully, professionally, I realized that I needed to invest in my education to be able to understand how to really make money on real estate, not necessarily just an investor, but also doing it as an entrepreneur. And I was living in the Washington area and looking for different sources other than just self-teaching myself from many good authors, great books I've read, useful books as well. I ran into Traction RIA, and that's how I met Tom and Carolina.
So, Eddy, what was it about my program that attracted you?
Well, initially, it wasn't really about your program. It was more about a RIA that would help me network with other investors and other like-minded people. And the topping on the ice cream was meeting you and your program beyond just the actual networking opportunities with the RIA that it's managed by you.
And so you came into my Rapid Cash Generator Bootcamp, and what inspired you? What got you excited? What changed for you?
Well, after I started doing your training, I was able to have the confidence to do what every other books tells you to do, which is basically to take action into the marketing and get the deals flowing. I always really like how you simplify the model in, basically you find a deal, you negotiate a deal, and you cash a check. It's not that difficult once you actually understand and get over the hump. I believe that trying to trust that if you do enough marketing, and there's a gazillion ways of doing marketing, which you teach a lot of options about personal choices, really, and your budget and your objectives, but it's taking action through the marketing to get deals coming to you so you can start the process of learning how to negotiate deals and how to determine the deals that make sense to you.
Let's talk about your marketing for a minute. Did you feel like you were struggling with marketing? Were you afraid of marketing? Were you afraid of what you were spending on your marketing? Like it wasn't going to go anywhere? And then did it turn around?
All of the above. I think that it must be my professional brain setting in. Why would that work? Why would anybody try to pick up your piece of marketing and answer your silly questions, whether you want to sell your house at a discount or not? I believe that at one point, Tom, you hammered it so well that you said, just trust the system. It works over and over and over. That you say, you know what? I just got to stop thinking. Just do it. Because if I start thinking and rationalizing it, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to have anybody who will be willing to sell you their asset at, 30, 40% off market value. And those people do exist. Certainly do.
Interesting. So they only, once you started actually doing it and ignored that little voice in your head, kind of trying to logically talk you out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just started to happen. Excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
Go ahead. Tell us about your first deal.
So another comment about that is that you're very creative in saying one of the things that you start with your program, and I that helped you create some confidence, is that you don't have to spend gazillion dollars on marketing. There are very creative ways. You're trading time for money. So if you have time, great. There are cheaper ways to do marketing. If you have a little more cash, then you can outsource it to other companies and services to do the marketing for you. But the point of the matter is that even with small amounts of money, well targeted, you can get responses. And that's what I initially did, following some of the different lists that are typically used. And there is no magic list. You always say that as well, and I also agree with you. There is no magic list. It's a reasonable, logical list of a constraint that people may be facing, and then just stick with it. And in a farming area as well, very clearly delineated in your program. I follow pretty much those steps, and I did market. I did market in Fairfax City. I'm sorry, where I found, because I live nearby, so I felt comfortable marketing to something that was more of my neighborhood and I understood it. Lower cost to where I live. I live in Vienna, Virginia. Still very expensive, but reasonably compared to what Vienna is worth. I didn't spend a lot of money. So I might have spent maybe $800 on my mailings for my initial list. It might have been about 250 houses. I was focused on foreclosures. Mm-hmm. That's the initial group I focused on. At that time, still was 2016 where I made these deals, and then there was still a little bit of those deals coming still from the recession, because they were still kind of the result of the recession. And basically, I found two deals, which I'll tell you about in a minute if you want.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're $800 into your marketing.
Yep.
And you got both of your first two deals from that $800 of marketing spend?
The first one.
The first one.
Second one came from the other one maybe another $1,200 or so of marketing. And then I got my second deal. Same farming area though.
Same farming area.
Same
so you
list.
had defined your farm, mm-hmm. like I taught you at the boot camp. Mm-hmm. You got one of the lists that I talked about. Mm-hmm. Your first $800 got you your first deal. Then an additional $1,200 in marketing spend got you your second deal. So you're about $2,000 into your marketing.
Yeah.
Not to completely spoil it. So of those two deals, what was your profit on those two deals?
So I took notes because it's been a year and a half or so. So
sure.
So they were both townhomes. In Fairfax, there seems to be a cluster of townhomes that have a fairly mid-range price for Fairfax County, and they are one was the ARV for the house was $342,000. Mm-hmm. I closed the deal at $218,000. So with a fee of $24,000 for a wholesale fee.
It's a beautiful wholesale fee. Your first deal was $24,000 in profit on $800 in marketing spend.
That's right.
And a couple grand you invested in my boot camp. So
right.
You were way up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the deal was pretty much a nice upside for my buyer, who was a rehabber. He might have invested. My estimation was probably right on. Mm-hmm. This is the one trick that also freezes a lot of investors. How do you determine the rehab costs to market it? Yeah. However, if you go to Home Depot often enough, you kind of learn the cost per feet of paint and carpet and appliances and so forth, right? And it's also, you'd never want to make sure that you underestimate that. You want to be conservative with those rehab costs, so that the potential buyer, who is a rehabber usually or an investor, has enough upside, and they will know if the rehab budget is cushioned. They'll know that right away.
So Eddy, your rehabber was still able to make a good profit, and you made a very handsome wholesale fee.
Yeah.
Did your people always ask? So I'm being a little facetious the way I ask this, but didn't your buyer object to paying you $24,000 to buy a contract from you?
No, because they were making after rehab about 70,000. So.
Okay, there we go. No, people don't object to paying 24,000 when they can make 70.
Exactly.
It happens all day long. Good.
I mean, 70 after paying my 24, right? So that's all net for them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's lovely. So handsome profit for anybody.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful profit. It's not 70 minus 24 for them. It's they're making 70, you pay 24. Net. Excellent. Net for each.
A question for Eddy. Was there any apprehension going into your first deal?
Oh, absolutely. Everything you can imagine on the book. Am I crazy? Am I going to get scammed? Is this person going to back out? Would I not be able to sell the deal to another rehabber or another buyer? Will I have an exit strategy? Which is one of the key things that also Tom adamantly teaches in his course when we go over contracts. And I'll have a story about that later on. Now I have a story to share about that.
Go for it.
Well, let me tell you about the second deal to keep the excitement going. With there is upside on doing wholesale. And the second deal was another townhome as well in Fairfax. It was ARV was 315. I bought the property, or the wholesale purchase price was 230 for a wholesale fee of $19,000. This one had a lower margin between the wholesale fee and the actual sale price, but the rehab budget was also smaller. The prior one was 30,000. This one was 15,000 in rehab.
It has a smaller margin, but you still made a $19,000 wholesale fee.
Yes, I did.
Sounds horrible, Eddy.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah. So your first two deals, 24,000 and 19,000.
That's right. Yeah.
So $43,000 in your first two deals, off of $2,000 in marketing spend and a few $1,000s on training. So whatever, let's say $5,000, $6,000,
give or take. Yeah,
give or take.
Beautiful. And that happened within 1 year.
In 1 year, wonderful. That's a pretty good year. How did you? How'd that make you feel?
Well, it obviously confirmed the model that you have been preaching for years, that it works. But again, it's really not up to the trainer. It's up to the trainee to make it happen.
Yes.
and that is where I think you do a very good job brainwashing your students and helping them overcome their fears. Some are slower than others, I must tell you, including me.
It's okay.
But eventually, it hits you, and especially when you confirm that it does work.
You have a wife and kids, correct?
Yeah, my wife was very supportive of my enthusiasm. But yet she didn't believe me. She's like, I don't think that.
And now?
I think she does. Yeah, I've proven myself. I'm proving the model.
I was wondering what kept you going, because you said all told that the two deals were over the course of a year. So I'm wondering what was it about your mindset that kept you going, kept going at it, to keep trying the system?
So I think what happens, Harry, and this is I actually went back to one of the perks that Tom's program has is the lifetime retake of the boot camp. It's a great, it's priceless. $2,000 is nothing, or $3,000. I remember how much it is. It's nothing when you can actually go back and refresh, reboot, and also get fresh ideas from Tom and also from peers. A lot of the students are people that are doing this day in, day out, and they also need some refresher and some motivation. I believe that one of the challenges is consistency in the marketing. And actually, I had done my marketing the second time second investment, and I was happy doing it, but I did get calls, but I got no deals. Took a while, but eventually there is a delay between action and gratification, and that's where I think if people don't understand that, that kills the enthusiasm in what you're doing, because we live in a society that you want immediate fulfillment, immediate returns, immediate satisfaction, and in this business, you're building a reputation, you're building a brand name, you're building some credibility, and then also sometimes it's just luck. You happen to have the card in front of the distressed seller that needs to get rid of it right away, and you're there, and that's just pure luck. It doesn't take any better timing than just being in front of the person at the right time, the right moment. And to do that, you have to invest in marketing and just trust that eventually somebody will call.
Makes sense.
Eddy, with your second deal, you found it through the same way. It was also pre-foreclosure?
Yes, it was also pre-foreclosure as the first one. Absolutely.
And you found your buyer by going to your buyer's list that you had built?
Yes, exactly. So I built my buyer's list from assisting to the RIA, and also from networking in other local RIA groups, where basically I did also stop at construction sites where there were crews working on repairs or updates or brand new constructions. And I did exchange cards with the different contractor and developers.
So if you saw a house being built, you'd stop and
ask,
say, "Hey, are you a buyer also?"
Yeah. So one of the buyers was from our Attraction RIA, one of the developers or constructors in Attraction RIA. The other one was just a random developer that I met basically by stopping at construction sites. Whenever I'm driving around and I have a little bit of time, stop, say hello, exchange cards, and do that. That one, it was nice also. It was actually very simple, although the fee was a little lower. 19,000 is not too frowned upon. And also the fact that it was more of a lipstick rehab. And for the audience, lipstick is pretty much a property where you do some painting, carpet changes, knobs that may be broken, or just want to make it safe. Again, general cleanup. So it's really not a hard duty rehab at all. So it allowed for a lot more profit to the buyer with a lot less effort, for sure. So yeah, they made less of a profit than maybe they would do, but still, $40,000-$50,000 is not a bad profit on a deal, for sure.
Right. And again, this buyer made $40,000-$50,000 profit after rehabbing. You made a $19,000 profit from assigning your contract.
That's correct.
Did that buyer object to paying you $19,000?
They did not, and that one they sold for, I think, about another $20,000 above what was the estimated ARV. So they did really very handsomely.
Good. So they beat your projections and more than earned back what they paid you.
Yeah, their market helped, but obviously having solid numbers, which makes it convincing, is very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. When you were shopping for buyers for both of the deals now, when you were shopping around for buyers, did you have multiple buyers? Did you get to, you obviously chose one. Did you have to disappoint others? Was there competition involved? How did you approach your buyers?
Look, I have a limited buyers list as opposed to maybe other more advanced wholesalers. I think I had, I want to say 9 or 11 persons on my list. Not very many. So whenever I prepared the package as you instructed, as you taught us, but then again, you teach it to us, but also it's just common sense, It would sound, you need pictures, you need data, you need location, you need, dates, dimensions, what's the size, how many rooms, what the size of the rooms, how many bathrooms, just typical information. And if you've done a good job taking pictures, the pictures speak, tons, and you don't need to do a lot of writing if you have good pictures. Out of if I remember well, I think I might have had 4 responses for the first deal. It didn't become a bidding war because somebody offered, they took my fee for 24. I think I was asking for 30, I believe, but the other ones were offering less, and that one offered 24. I looked at their credentials. I did check them out. They were on doing rehab on 2 other properties. So they were in business. So I took that offer, and that paid off really well. I did do a little bit of background check, and I would advise anybody to do a little bit of background checks on your buyers as well. But just take your word for it.
Fantastic. And your second buyer?
A second buyer was, again, the one that was the constructor that I found by literally knocking on doors and knocking on construction sites, rather. And I did the same. I did differently in this case. I liked the guy a lot when I talked to them, and I just gave him a direct deal. Hey, I have this property, and you told me that you were looking for new properties to rehab. I just sent it to him directly, and immediately he accepted it without flinching. He just took it. I asked for 19,000. He did 19,000, and that was it.
Excellent. And did either buyer object to buying on assignment?
They apparently had both done the same before. They had experience doing assignments. So the contract we signed, which is your template, was seamless, not a problem at all. It's clear enough for them to understand it, so they didn't have any problems at all.
Yeah, that's one of the big benefits of doing it that way. Is it's simple, it's easy. A professional rehab or professional buyer's done that before. They don't object. I know a lot of listeners out there are saying, oh, well, the marketing's difficult. Well, you showed that, $800 and you made a fortune. And some people say, oh, well, I'll never find a buyer. A buyer's not going to understand the assignment, or that's strange. But you're finding all of this to be exceptionally smooth.
Exceptionally smooth and actually predictable. What I confirmed, Tom, was that you don't have to sell the deal sells itself. When there is money to be made, and you're talking with people that understand the business, which there are plenty in our DC metro area, a lot of people in this business, it's really not that hard for them to understand the numbers at all. You would think that maybe as a newbie, you may not be akin to the whole network of people. But the truth is that network of people in this business, a lot of them know each other, or they know people in their area, wherever they work, and they know numbers and they know costs based on their experience as well. So if I'm marketing in Fairfax and I have obviously other rehabbers or buyers that are doing similar deals in Fairfax, it's a no-brainer for them. They'll automatically recognize their margins on that. And I had no problems closing, so it's fine.
What do you think some of the biggest lessons you learned are, both about yourself and the process and real estate? Let's name your top 3 lessons learned.
Well, the first lesson learned is that we should follow a proven path as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel. Others have done it by following the footsteps that you have laid out, which you have learned by experience and by learning from your mentors as well. So you pretty much are passing down wisdom to others. Unless you test it wrong, at least test that wisdom and make sure that it does work. That's maybe lesson number 1. Number 2 is consistency in marketing. That's just the way to do it, and to be able to have a deal flow. You make enough emphasis on that. I don't believe that most students actually follow through on that, because we second guess what it is that we are trying to achieve. And again, it is a possibility that you may invest $5,000 and get no deals. It is a chance and it's a possibility. But you will definitely talk to people. If you invest $5,000 in marketing, you will be talking to some people, even if it's just to get the wheel rolling and get those awkward conversations out of the way, or get calls from people telling you, "Get me off your mailing list," which we get them all the time. So
exactly. At least the post office is delivering your mail.
Yeah, and to get them off your list as well, so you don't waste any more money on them. So, and then the third one, and not last, is that actually leads me into what I'm doing in Puerto Rico right now. Let me tell you about this now.
Please.
I told you that I wanted to do investments, not in my metro area, but in other locations. So professionally, I was able to come to Puerto Rico and help with the reconstruction after the hurricane last year. And I felt it was a great opportunity, because I knew after a disaster hits, there's also a lot of opportunity for reconstruction. And when there's problems, people flee and they leave things that are very valuable behind, or they leave things in disrepair. My intentions in Puerto Rico are, on On one hand, it's a professional league to help Puerto Ricans get back on their feet. But secondly, it was also to invest in multifamily properties in Puerto Rico. I've been to Puerto Rico before. I'm familiar with it. I'd worked here before, and I realized that was an opportunity to do this type of investment. So two things briefly about Puerto Rico. One is that I came in looking for a RIA in Puerto Rico to network with other professionals and like-minded people to help me get started. And one thing I found, Tom, is that the information is in disarray. The system is not as clearly and as established as it is in many parts of the U.S. or most of the U.S. Really, market information is not available online. For instance, you go to Zillow, you're not going to find properties for Puerto Rico in Zillow, for instance, as an example. And it has to do with multiple things. All those large data gathering companies just do not collect data here. The registry are not itemized, they're not digitalized. So I decided to, let me look for a real estate investor association. And there's none. So I'm like, wow, what would Tom do? Well, I'll create my own. So I opened up a RIA, and I have 35 members.
Fantastic.
It's a great opportunity to network with like-minded people. Some are beginners, some are just experienced, some actually see the opportunity to network. But it takes initiative to do this type of things, right? My biggest constraint is actually finding a suitable space without going through a hotel and charging, because I don't have the time to manage it appropriately. So I need to keep it informal. But it's extremely exciting. I was able to then find the best property management company in Puerto Rico. I got the brokers from Puerto Rico to do commercial deals and residential deals as well. I got the tax attorney guys, the best tax attorney guys in town as well. So I got kind of a lineup of professionals that can help talk to others who took me a little while to figure it out, but I was able to quite quickly, actually, more than others that actually live here. Because I knew what I was looking for. I had a model. I have a model and example to search to look for. And in the end, so that's the first story. And that to be continued. We'll talk in the next opportunity. I'll see you to tell you how it went and what I was able to achieve from that experience. The second one is that as I was looking for multifamily, I decided, you know what, this is a beautiful. I was able to purchase a penthouse on the beach in Isla Verde, and I bought it for $215, and the market value ARV is about $350. But that one I'm actually doing it myself, so I'm actually going to the rehab process. I'm finishing just about now. So I put about $50K into it. So I'm about 265 into the deal, and it has a nice. It's a value play on this one. It's basically I'm playing price increases on the property as values go up.
And how did you negotiate that? It sounds like you've taken what you've learned and what you've been able to apply on in the mainland U.S. Now you're applying it to Puerto Rico. And tell us about that negotiation.
It was actually, the story is over and over, Tom, is that, properties that have some distress story are where investors find the deals. That's just the way it works. I mean, rational people that may have regular lives will not sell at a discount, but others will. And this was an inheritance. It was a property that the owner had died a couple of years ago. So it had been on the market when he was alive or dying, and then off the market after he died because legal paperwork, inheritance had to be taken care of. And so it had just come back up on the market, and they dropped it from 250 to 230. So that caught my attention. They were motivated. And then I learned that it had been in the market about 2.5 years ago, and it had been just basically sat vacant for that long, or maybe over 3 years. So it's a beautiful penthouse. I mean, a block from the beach. I have ocean views, and it's great. It'll be really nice after it's done.
And you negotiated them down another $15,000. You said you got it for $215.
$215, right? Yeah. I offered I think 202, but then they countered. So they actually went exactly to where I wanted it to be, 215. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent tech. Yeah, go lower. Let them bring you up. Now they feel like they won.
They feel like they won.
Excellent, and and you sleep at night knowing you did go low enough, because if you said 202 and they said yes, you would have wondered how much lower they would have gone.
Exactly, and I had set my budget at 215 as the max ARV. So I mean, I knew exactly that was my max allowable offer.
Fantastic. And this is going to be a personal residence for you, or?
I mean, I will use it personally for the time I'm here. So that way I finish overseeing the rehab, and it's going to be, it's going to end up being kind of a luxury property. And so like I said, it's a value play. So I'll rent it out, hang on to it for maybe a little bit over a year, and then see where the market goes.
Excellent.
And yeah, but rentals should not be a problem at all. To and pay off whatever whatever the mortgage costs are. And actually, I remember another element is 100% finance, because I was able to leverage home line of credits and other sources. It's not really any of my money.
Actually, playing all your cards right. Eddy, you've used a specific word a few times as we've been speaking, and I want you to expand upon it for our listeners. And that word is framework. Like, you've been able to use a framework, lean into the framework, the frameworks work for you. Talk us through how you view my framework.
I believe that, Tom, that the framework you have developed helped to bring confidence to the process. So if in the way I see it and the way I've learned your system is that, first of all, it's not a one-time shot. You have to listen to the tapes. You have to read the books multiple times. You have to let it sink. And then eventually you start seeing, and then you have to be always observant of what's going on with the market, so you can see, is this a value play? You have to analyze deals to see where things make sense. And using the framework is basically following the steps that you have developed in the program to be able to have the confidence of understanding what comes next. So if I do this and there's a trigger, somebody calls me, then I know exactly what you do. Well, you develop a relationship. You understand their situation. Eventually, you talk about numbers. And then if the numbers make sense, you get back to them. If they don't make sense, you say thank you. You move on to the next call, next information you have. If you're not getting calls, and you taught us using the framework, where you look for the calls. You call realtors. Call for sale by owners. Whenever you have a little bit of time, call for rentals. Whenever you find I go around and I take pictures of rental signs or realtor sign, I just call them. Hey, what do you have? I'm looking for this. I'm looking for this range. I'm looking for this type of property. And they may give you information if you're not getting phone calls from your marketing. And in Puerto Rico, marketing, I have been done it's a lot through realtors and through just basically calling phone numbers, because they're all over the place. So it's kind of easy in that sense. And I'm trying to take it to the next level and automate it so I can have automatic texting and automatic voicemails, because I have enough of a long list of numbers that I can do that. So.
Fantastic. Eddy, if you were to meet somebody or come across somebody who was in the same spot you were before my training, what advice would you give to them now?
I would advise people that were doubtful, like I was, to find a network with like-minded people that are a step ahead of them, so that they have success stories to model and success stories to look forward to help them out continue the path of self-education and also to pursue their objectives in investing. Another comment I've made people, and I already have done this to people that tell me, I want to do real estate investment, but I don't have any money. And I told them, and I learned this from another mentor, and it's basically, yes, I mean, you are an investor when you start putting money down in properties, but right now, if you're doing wholesaling, you really are an entrepreneur. I mean, you are really a real estate entrepreneur that are basically finding deals, flipping them for money. And until now that I'm buying this penthouse in Puerto Rico that I just bought, I'm actually now an investor officially beyond my personal home and other things. But because I'm putting the money to, in real estate, not even my own money really, but I've leveraged my money to do that. My point is, I would encourage them to think of themselves as entrepreneurs. And to do that, they have to be driven, to be motivated, and to also not give up in their first defeat. They must continue to do it if they believe in it, and it will pay off eventually.
Fantastic. So any regrets about your training? Anything you would have done different?
My regret probably would have been that I would have done it as soon as I had the opportunity to do it. I probably chewed on it for maybe over a year until I did it. So you
Until you
know,
finally took action.
yeah. So hindsight, beyond all my own self education and all the networking, great education that could be available pretty much for free. Taking the course, I would have done it a year sooner if I look back.
So you would have started sooner. I agree. I usually hear, I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have started younger. And
Yeah.
that's just, yet people still sit and kind of spin their wheels when it's
Mm-hmm.
time, when you want to get traction, the time to take action is now.
I agree.
Fantastic. Thanks, Eddy. Well, appreciate it. Thanks I know you're calling in from Puerto Rico. I know things have been a little crazy down there.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate you making the time, and we've had a pretty good audio connection as well. So, folks, apologies if there's been a touch of noise, but it's not. I think the value in talking with Eddy has been fantastic. So I want to thank you a lot, Eddy.
Thank you, Tom. Henry, thank you as well. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Eddy.
Thanks for listening. Your next step is to visit gettractionpodcast.com. There you'll find all current episodes and a link to download a free copy of Tom's Deal Flow cheat sheet. Happy wholesaling!